Mark's Whisky Basement, whisky lovers, for another one of my ramblings. And today I would like to tell you a little story about Rosebank. Rosebank was built in Camelon near Falkirk on the banks of the Fourth Clyde Canal between Glasgow and Edinburgh, and that immediately tells you we are in the Lowlands. Now, it was built in 1798, but Rosebank did not start its life as a distillery. No, it was first constructed as a malting. It was known as the Camelon Maltings. It was in 1840 that James Rankine, the owner, decided to turn Rosebank into a distillery proper. Now, as you know, it was last owned by Diageo, the large drinks consortium, and they, for a long time, considered Rosebank to become the representative of the Lowlands in their famous classic malts lineup. But eventually that honour was bestowed upon Glenkinchie, and that more or less sealed the fate of Rosebank. Now, Rosebank is a distillery that is lost. Why? Because it was closed in 1993, and hopes of ever reopening it was somewhat dampened by the fact that in 2006 Diageo sold the buildings to British Waterways, and they have turned it into housing, apartments, even a beefeater restaurant. So, you know, it's unlikely that it will ever reopen again, was thought at the time. But that hope, that final straw of hope, was nipped in the bud when in 2009 what was left of the distilling equipment in the old distillery buildings was nicked by copper thieves in January 2009. So it is a lost distillery, never to be reopened again. What is so special about Rosebank? Where did it get its name from? Well, like I said, it was built on the banks of the Fourth Clyde Canal, and the banks of that river were dotted with, you guessed it, roses. But another thing that is special about Rosebank is the fact that it is triple distilled, not unlike Auchentoshan. It is one of the few distilleries that triple distilled. Rosebank is one of them, creating thus a rather delicate and floral spirit indeed. And it was so well loved and appreciated by connoisseurs all over the world, by whisky aficionados, that they dubbed Rosebank the Queen of the Lowlands. Now, today I would like to try the Rosebank 12-year-old, which is the one of the few official distillery bottlings. There's also a special release, a rare malts release if I'm not mistaken, and recently 25-year-old, is that it? 20 or 25, I'm not entirely sure from the top of my head. But this is their 12-year-old, which is again in the Fauna and Flora series, a phrase coined by the late Michael Jackson. We are going to try the entry-level Rosebank, the 12-year-old from Diageo, the 12-year-old Flora and Fauna. Well, as you can see, it's got a very light colour. It's a bit like sunlight. It's darker than straw, but it's not golden just yet. So it's a very light spirit, a light whiskey. Oh yes, this is what they call the good stuff. It is very light and delicate. It's very creamy, floral. I get some pears, some grape sap, even some chamomile in there. Oh, this is so gentle and sweet. It's very fruity, very floral. And a touch of cream in there. Very nice, very accessible. It's only bottled at 43%, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 43% ABV. So it's not that much of a challenge to the nose. On the palate. Very smooth. Again, slightly creamy, but it remains delicate. I get some nuts, some grasses, again vanilla, but now there's also a touch of citrus. I get some tangerines in there. It reminds me a bit of Cointreau, you know, the eau de vie or the liqueur created from oranges. That's what it reminds me of a little bit, but obviously with a lot more schwung, a lot more punch in there as well. But that's what it reminds me of a little bit. It's very nice, it's very delicate. Nicely fruity. This is really good stuff. The finish is not particularly long. It's not short either, so somewhere in between. and it remains fruity and feisty. A bit of spices in there as well. And at the depth there is this lift by a bit of mint. So this is an excellent whiskey in general, and a wonderful Lowlander in particular. If you ever get the chance to try a Rosebank whiskey, do not let it pass you by. This is absolutely stunning. This is a pleasure. It's an aperitif style whiskey, but it is an absolute pleasure, and it is heartrending to realise that Rosebank will never be produced again, that it is a lost distillery forever. Alas. Now luckily there's still a bit of Rosebank to be found, both official bottlings, just a few, but there are quite a few independent bottlings available as well, so you can still get your hands on this lovely nectar. And that's it for this Whisky Rambling, the Rosebank 12-year-old. Until we meet again, until then, may the malt be with you.